There has never been a stranger world than the dunya in which we are now living. And so now let us look at the world today in which we have these mysterious Arab uprisings taking place. If Israel is to launch an attack on Egypt, to take that territory, you can't do it with only drones and helicopter gunships and missiles landing from the air. You have to launch a ground invasion to take that territory. And so now we can understand, at least this part of the Arab uprisings, that while Tunisia and Egypt were spontaneous popular uprisings, where there may have been a Zionist little hint and a push here and there to help it along, but the people rose up on their own as well against oppression. But in Libya it was not like that. This was not an uprising. This was a long-planned armed insurrection, not an uprising. NATO worked very hard, and NATO had friends in Qatar and in Saudi Arabia to help them, and in Turkey to help them, to get the arms into Libya in advance. And then when the call was given, the armed uprising takes place. NATO would not have succeeded, and NATO, of course, is a Zionist organization. And someone should probably explain that to our brother, the Turkish Prime Minister. He doesn't seem to know it. NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, is the armed wing of Zionism, a Zionist organization. NATO needed a Security Council resolution to allow them to attack Libya from the sky. And when the resolution came before the Security Council, Russia and China decided to abstain from the vote, knowing full well that the resolution will now pass. The resolution will now pass, and that's the end of Gaddafi and the regime in Libya. Why did Russia and China act in the way that they did? When the matter came before the Security Council of the United Nations, a resolution permitting the use of military intervention, NATO, in Libya, Russia and China abstained from the vote, knowing full well that the resolution will now be adopted, and that is the end of the Libyan government. It's only a matter of time. Why did Russia and China act in this way? Is there collusion between Russia and the Zionists, between China and the Zionists, or is there another explanation? It's a very important question for us to seek to answer. What are the implications of the success of NATO and of the Muslims in Libya who launched the attack and succeeded, at least in Tripoli, in bringing down the government of Muammar al-Gaddafi, and then winning recognition, diplomatic recognition around the world, even Malaysia, one of the first states to recognize the new regime in Libya was Malaysia. All the pro-American governments in the world quickly recognized. But surprisingly, Russia also recognized, and China also recognized very quickly. The ones who held out and are still holding out are the ones who truly have sincerity in their hearts. And that is Hugo Chavez in Venezuela. I'm not going to recognize this government. Evo Morales in Bolivia. I'm not going to recognize this government. And some other South American states. The implications of the fall of the Libyan government is that NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, will now be in Libya for the next 25 years. They're not going to leave. They wanted Libya for a particular reason that our Muslim brothers could not understand: eating halwa. They wanted to be in Libya because Egypt is the target. And you have to send in ground troops into Egypt. You can't do it with drones as you're doing it in Pakistan. And so now with the success in Libya, when Israel launches her attack on Egypt, Israel will launch the attack from the east, and NATO will launch the attack from the west, ground troops. This is in addition to the air, and this is in addition to a naval blockade of Egypt. Will the Egyptian government survive? Will the Egyptian state survive? Given the pathetic state of Islamic scholarship today, because it's the ulama, they are the guides of the ummah, not the excellencies, the ministers of government, not the newspapers, and not the television sets. The ulama of Islam, these are the guides of the ummah. And given the pathetic state of Islamic scholarship today, I see no reason why it's going to hurt the Egyptians. And we have a few Egyptians here tonight, I believe. It's going to hurt the Egyptians for me to say this. I don't see any obstacle in the way of their achieving their objective in Egypt. But they're not going to stop with simply seizing the Eastern Delta. They're going to break up Egypt into small bits and pieces, so that the small bits and pieces can never pose a threat to Israel.